you talked about a lot of things. The thing that came up here were issues about, actually you covered as well, about buying books. Okay, and we were talking here about not being too prescriptive about, you know, what kind of books the kids are going to use and buy, and it very much dictated about what they wanted, you know, not what we thought they should have. Okay, practicalities of that you talked more about than we did, and that's why the Amazon thing came in, which I think would be the simplest solution. Although Nikki B's idea about them taking a tour of a really good bookshop and getting a big discount would also be fab if it can be arranged by, I don't know,
depends on the
location.
Yeah,
that'd be really nice.
They get more than £100. They get like 35–40% discount. So.
The timing of the first meeting, I think, was also important, and we've discussed about it's over 3 hours, but you got an hour for the library mentor, and talked about how that should be. Try and make sure that it's fairly lively, informal, there are biscuits, and therefore the person isn't worn out by the time the writer arrives. You know, it's going to go another hour and a half or 2 hours after that. And certainly I'm keen that they see the response of the mentor to their work at that first meeting where the person is there. Okay, so they either do a short exercise while they're there in that session, 20 minutes to 30 minutes max, and they see how the person responds to their work there, or they bring something with them. Okay, the main thing is they know what you like about their work. Okay, so otherwise if you leave it till afterwards, the only response you're going to get is when they post something up, and that's quite nerve-wracking, I think.
What we can do, Dave, is before they meet, either ask the young people to send something in or just share what they submitted, which will give you an idea of how whether it's poetry, prose, non-fiction, what have you. So we've got that already. Yeah. So just to give a bit of kind of.
No, I think they bring the piece that they've already prepared, which is fine, or they do something there and then, which is probably the ideal, because it's kind of fresh in both people's minds.
I think the thing that where you're absolutely right about doing something on the day is that it begins the process, and it's, do you know what I mean? And informal. So it's the first thing you do maybe is a new thing, that you can then at the end, you know, the end of January, you look back on that piece and go, that's when it started with that piece there, and now I'm on remand. Do you know what I mean? So you can see a natural journey. So I think that's a great idea actually, to do a piece on the day.
Was everybody comfortable with it?
Yeah, do you think maybe even it could be a two-way thing where, I mean, all of you guys could bring an essay or a piece from a novel or whatever it is, a piece of writing that you've done, the young person presents theirs, and you give them an opportunity to kind of read yours and maybe even critique it and like.
I'm currently working on some urban hip hop, so yeah, that's
that'd be great.
That's a really nice idea actually, isn't it?
It would be good, I think.
Then it gives them a relationship with kind of everyone in their work. But let their work be at the centre of it and be first on.
Well, that's it, yeah.
I mean, that's up to you guys to call whether you think that's appropriate or not, but I thought it might give them a bit more.
I think it's nice. I think it does give it sort of, if you can get the kind of equality there, so that they feel, you know, they're taking part in your work as well as theirs, but theirs has to take kind of the main part of the session. Otherwise it might give it, you know, lopsided. But I think it's perfect if you can do something on that session, because then it is the start, it's fresh for both of you, it marks the beginning, and hopefully that's the start of a creative arc. And I think that also brings me to the thing about, we can't expect a young person's creativity to start on that date and finish on the date that we've kind of set.
Yes.
It may fizzle out in the middle bit and it'd be energizing, they may just be hitting the kind of stride by the time you leave, you know? That is down to the strength of the project as well as your relationship with the mentees. In that we're using groupthink, there's ample space on there to have the group, and the young people will be able to see each other's work. So therefore, I would hope that the young people would start to look at each other's work and form their own kind of group remotely.
That was one of our concerns over here, and what we were saying is perhaps, if possible, say they were at a very early stage where they were quite sensitive about their work and they weren't ready for everyone else to see it yet, but they wanted some critique. Could Nikki serve as an intermediary so that it could feed through her to begin with before they end up posting it? Because they might be in a place early on where they don't want
I think that's true.
16 other people to see it.
I know. On the other hand,
part of the process, really. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but isn't that vulnerability part of the process?
I mean, if we're talking about giving these young people a taste of what it's like to be a writer, not just playing at it, not just school stuff, then I think, you know, they need to feel confident enough to post something up, and otherwise, if we say, oh, you can do it a different way, then what's to stop them always doing that? And they'll never get the confidence to put it up there.
I agree with you. I'm just saying that, say even if you're a professional writer, you might have your person in your family or your personal person in the office of the publisher that you show your draft to before you share it with the rest of the company. So I'm not saying they shouldn't post it, I'm just saying maybe they should have an opportunity to give it just to their mentor first, and then, but it's obviously you guys call.
But it is also down to that things change depending on what technology you're using.
Yeah.
I mean, before you would only be working with one person, and now because of technology you are sharing much more. I think the ideal is that they are so inspired in the first meeting, they've done a piece, they're up, they're off, they know you aren't going to be sat there doing red pen over their grammar and their spelling, you're there to help them achieve, therefore they feel confident enough to keep on going the open way. I think we probably need to have plan B in case.
Okay, fine.
They know. Okay.